Welcome to today's Lost Souls, where we bring you the most impactful and unforgettable stories from around the world. Today, we remember the lives of remarkable individuals whose legacies continue to inspire and resonate. From iconic musicians to trailblazing activists, join us as we celebrate their extraordinary contributions and bid farewell to those who have left an indelible mark on our lives. Stay tuned for a journey through their incredible stories.
Cleo Laine. Dame Cleo Laine was widely regarded as one of Britain's greatest jazz singers and a remarkable vocalist with an extraordinary 4-octave range. Born Clementine Dinah Campbell on October 28, 1927, in Southall, Middlesex, England, to a Jamaican father and an English mother, she became a global ambassador for British jazz across an illustrious career that spanned more than 7 decades. She began her professional singing career in 1951 when she joined the British Jazz Band, led by saxophonist John Dankworth, whom she married in 1958. Together, they formed one of the most influential partnerships in British music history. Their home became a hub for jazz greats such as Ella Fitzgerald, Dizzy Gillespie, and Oscar Peterson. Laine was not only revered for her jazz performances, but also for her versatility across genres, including pop, classical, and musical theater. She was equally skilled at scat singing and performing complex works by composers like Kurt Weill, Arnold Schoenberg, and Robert Schumann. Laine's acting career was also notable, including performances on London's West End and Broadway, and in productions ranging from Shakespearean texts to Benjamin Britten's opera Noise Flood, where she even portrayed the role of God. Her charismatic and theatrical flair made her a captivating figure on stage and screen. Throughout her life, Laine was deeply committed to music education and accessibility. Along with John Dankworth, she co-founded The Stables, a renowned arts venue and music charity in Wavendon, Buckinghamshire, which remains a vital center for live music and education programs, in recognition of her outstanding contributions. She became the first British jazz artist to be named a Dame in 1997. Dame Cleo received numerous accolades, including a Grammy Award and Tony Award nominations. Her death on July 24, 2025, was mourned by fans and musicians worldwide, and The Stables expressed deep sorrow over the loss of their life president and co-founder. Laine's remarkable legacy endures through her recordings, performances, and profound influence on the jazz world. Junior Edwards. Junior Edwards, a beloved original cast member of the History Channel reality series Swamp People, has died. He was one of the most respected and skilled alligator hunters featured on the show, known for his authentic swamp life expertise and charismatic presence. Edwards appeared in the first 6 seasons of Swamp People from its debut in 2010, returning for the 12th season in 2021, with a total of 100 episodes to his credit. His contributions helped define the show's authentic portrayal of the alligator hunting culture in Louisiana. The news of his passing was announced by his grandson and co-star, Little Willie Edwards, through a heartfelt Facebook post expressing sorrow and love, saying, "Rest easy, Pawpaw. I know you're probably busy running your hoop nets or doing something wild beyond those pearly gates. You will be deeply missed, Pawpaw. We love you more than anything. Until we meet again." His family had previously shared that Junior had been facing health challenges earlier in July, asking fans to keep him in their thoughts and prayers for a miracle. Fellow cast members and friends from Swamp People also paid tribute to Edwards, with Ashley Deadeye Jones calling him a legend and one of the greatest alligator hunters there is, recalling moments of hunting giant alligators together. His legacy includes his role as a respected outdoorsman, contributing to the enduring popularity and cultural impact of Swamp People. Junior Edwards is survived by his sons, Randy and Willie, as well as his grandchildren. His passing has left a significant impact on fans, castmates, and the Swamp community who admired his dedication and spirit. Jiří Krampol. Jiří Krampol was a legendary Czech actor, comedian, voice actor, and television presenter, most widely known for dubbing Jan Pol, Belmondo, and Louis de Funes for Czech audiences. Born on July 11, 1938, in Bustrad, Czechoslovakia, Krampol grew up in the Prague district of Žičov, which later served as inspiration for his creative works. Krampol studied acting at the theater faculty of the Academy of Performing Arts in Prague, Damu. Graduating in 1962, he began his career at the Vodlo na Fidlovax before joining the theater on the Balustrade and later the Semaphore Theater, where his comedic partnership with Miloslav Zimek garnered him widespread popularity. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, Krampol became a household name in Czechoslovakia, appearing in a wide array of television and film roles, often playing charismatic or tough characters. His notable works include films and series such as Sokolovo, 30 Cases of Major Zeman, Operation Daybreak, and the beloved fairy tale O Princesses, Tara Rakovala. He was also a prominent TV host, known for the long-running entertainment show Nikto Není Dokonalé. Krampol was celebrated for his voice acting, becoming the definitive Czech voice for Jean-Paul Belmondo after the emigration of Jan Triska, and taking over dubbing for Louis de Funes after the death of František Filipovský. His work earned him the prestigious František Filipovský Award for Lifetime Achievement in Czech Voice Acting and the Medal of Merit, First Class, from the Czech Republic in 2018. Krampol experienced personal losses, most notably the passing of his last wife, Hanna, in 2020. Despite hardships, he remained active in the entertainment industry well into his later years, continuing to appear on stage and television and engaging in amateur painting and writing. Jiří Krampol's death was confirmed on July 26, 2025. He leaves a lasting legacy as one of the pillars of Czech theater, film, and voice dubbing profoundly, shaping the nation's popular culture over 6 decades. Ray French, a revered figure in rugby league, passed away in July 2025 at the age of 85 after a long fight with dementia. French was an exceptional dual-code international player, earning 4 caps for England and rugby union in 1961 as a second-row forward before switching to rugby league. He played for his hometown club St. Helens from 1961 to 1967, making over 200 appearances and leading St. Helens to significant victories, including the League and Challenge Cup double in the 1965-66 season. He later played for Widnes and represented Great Britain in international matches and the 1968 World Cup. After retiring from playing, French became a prominent rugby league commentator, starting at BBC Radio Merseyside in 1975 and then joining BBC TV in 1979 as a match summarizer. He succeeded legendary Eddie Waring in 1981 as the lead rugby league commentator for the BBC, a role he held until 2008 for television and continued on radio until retiring in 2019. French was the voice behind nearly 30 Challenge Cup finals and thousands of other rugby league matches, widely admired for his distinctive, passionate, and enthusiastic commentary style. In recognition of his immense contributions to rugby league, both on and off the field, French received the Mike Gregory Spirit of Rugby League Award in 2010 and was appointed member of the Order of the British Empire, MBE, in the 2011 New Year Honors. He was also added to the Rugby Football League's Roll of Honor in 2008. Beyond rugby, French was a trained school teacher at Cowley School in St. Helens, which complemented his articulate and eloquent broadcasting style. French is remembered not only as a distinguished athlete, but also as an iconic commentator who brought rugby league into the homes of millions with warmth and insight. Tributes highlight his kindness, humility, and love for the sport, marking him as a true legend who shaped and celebrated rugby league for over 6 decades. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood, born on May 31, 1930, in working-class San Francisco. Clinton Eastwood Jr. took his first breaths as the Great Depression squeezed America. His parents, Ruth and Clinton Sr., kept moving westward in search of odd jobs, dragging their lanky son through logging towns in Oregon, oil fields near Sacramento, and countless dusty schoolyards. By age 12, he had already switched classrooms half a dozen times, an outsider studying each new tribe before speaking. That restlessness bred an observant silence. Clint learned to say little, listen long, and rely on himself. Nights spent in cramped rooms above taverns made privacy a luxury, so he explored outdoors, letting endless Pacific winds and 2-lane highways imprint a love for wide horizons. He absorbed John Ford westerns in nickel theaters, fascinated by lone riders framed against sunburned skies. Those early images mixed with the era's hard lessons on thrift and grit, forging the stoic persona that would one day stride across cinema screens. At Oakland Technical High School, the unusually tall Eastwood, already 6'4", preferred shadowed corners to pep rally spotlights. Part-time shifts bagging groceries supplemented family fuel money, while industrial arts courses fed a growing fascination with engines. He rebuilt a battered Model T, an exercise in patience that prefigured his later tinkering with film edits. Drafted into the Army during the Korean War, he served stateside at Fort Ord, Monterey as a lifeguard, scanning fog-coated surf for trainees in trouble. In 1951, a Navy plane he'd hitched a ride on crashed offshore. He swam 2 through riptides to reach land, an ordeal that heartened his belief in endurance over chance. Barrack mates remarked on his calm, unblinking stare, an embryonic version of the steely gaze that would one day define the man with no name. Evenings saw him scribbling fragmentary stories and sketching single-frame compositions, storing seeds for a cinematic future still unimaginable. Hollywood entered Eastwood's life almost by accident. After discharge, he lingered near Fort Ord, taking classes at LA City College and moonlighting at a gas station when a fellow serviceman introduced him to a Universal Talent Scout. A screen test followed. The studio liked his height, but criticized his acting, dismissing him after minor roles in science fiction quickies. Undeterred, he joined acting workshops, studying Stanislavski at night while repairing swimming pools by day. In 1959, perseverance paid off when CBS cast him as amiable trail boss Rowdy Yates on the Western series Rawhide. Over 8 seasons, the show transformed the once shy mechanic into a household name, beaming his granite jawline into millions of living rooms. Yet, the role's wholesome earnestness chafed. Clint yearned for darker horizons. When Italian director Sergio Leone sought an unknown American to anchor a low-budget Western, Eastwood seized a chance to trade tidy heroics for lethal ambiguity, packing his own cigarillos and poncho for the trip. The resulting Dollars trilogy altered cinema's DNA. In A Fistful of Dollars, Eastwood's silent gunman tilted his hat instead of offering exposition, and audiences filled the gaps with awe. For a few dollars more expanded the myth, pairing him with Lee Van Clee in a duel of squints and church bell gunfights. By 1966, the good, the bad, and the ugly erupted worldwide. Its haunting Morricone score and panoramic violence, elevating the genre from matinee pulp to operatic spectacle. Critics initially scoffed at the film's brutality. Yet, box office numbers roared, granting Eastwood artistic leverage rare for television. Escapees. Returning to America, he parlayed that currency into a new archetype. Inspector Harry Callahan, Dirty Harry, 1971, directed by Don Siegel, placed Clint in urban shadows, confronting bureaucracy with a .44 Magnum and a chilling question about a punk's luck. The film polarized moralists but cemented Eastwood as an icon of rugged individualism and an era of social upheaval. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, Eastwood balanced commercial crowd-pleasers with directing experiments. He wrangled orangutans in the comic Every Which Way But Loose, played a doomed Civil War deserter in The Beguiled, and revisited Callahan in sequels that tracked society's shifting anxieties. Behind the camera, he honed a lean, almost musical efficiency, limited takes, natural light, and a trust in long silences to speak louder than dialogue. That craft peaked with the elegy Western Unforgiven, 1992, a meditation on violence and myth that earned 4 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director, vindicating a career once dismissed as drive-in escapism. Subsequent triumphs: Mystic, River, $1 Million Baby, Letters from Ioma proved his range. He could probe guilt in Boston alleys, nurture a boxing tragedy, or humanize wartime adversaries, all while maintaining a Spartan set where coffee breaks were as punctual as death. Scenes. The new millennium did little to slow Eastwood's momentum. If anything, advancing years sharpened his curiosity. Gran Torino, 2008, turned a grizzled Detroit veteran into a reluctant bridge between generations, while American Sniper 2014 dissected modern warfare's psychological cost, becoming one of the highest-grossing war films ever. Despite the digital ag's frenetic pace, Clint continued to cut on instinct rather than monitors, wrapping principal photography weeks ahead of schedule and under budget. He composed jazz-inflected scores for several projects, returning to the Vandes. Piano between takes, merging his lifelong love of music with storytelling cadence. Industry observers marveled that a filmmaker who began under the harsh arc lights of 1950s backlots could still command multiplex attention among superhero spectacles. His secret appeared simple: respect the audience, trust the story, move quickly, and keep ego offset. A philosophy he credited to those lean depression childhood years spent chasing steady ground. Physically, Eastwood's relationship with danger began long before the stunts of Hollywood. At 21, he was the passenger in a Navy bomber that ditched into the Pacific when fuel and instruments failed. He swam through icy swells for hours to reach the Point Reyes coast, a brush with mortality that left him sworn to daily fitness and a lifelong respect for luck. Decades later, reporters still asked about that swim whenever he appeared on set, brandishing a rifle or sprinting across tracks. And he would shrug, saying the body remembers what it survives. Nutrition, moderate weights, long walks, and golf kept his frame lean, while disciplined sleep and the refusal to cuddle himself maintained muscular definition even as he passed 90. In a 2025 birthday update, he dismissed retirement rumors, insisting he felt in good health and preferred dying on a film set to wasting away in a rocking chair. In later years, Eastwood faced the incremental wear that greets every action veteran: tinnitus from blanks echoing off sound stages, minor knee cartilage tears from decades of climbing, horses a bout of pneumonia in his late 80s. But each obstacle folded into routine rather than retreat. Doctors recommended knee replacements. He opted for physical therapy and pull-ups. He wears discreet custom ear monitors on noisy locations, yet still composes piano themes by ear. When directing Jura Naru in 2024, he capped shooting days at 8 hours to conserve energy, but crew members half his age struggled to match his dawn call times. Interviewers marveled that he skipped caffeine afternoon and maintained single-take efficiency, explaining, "I just don't sit still." His family credits a Depression-era instinct to avoid waste. Every step, calorie, and moment must count. Yet, the deepest blows to his resilience came not from illness, but from loss. His father, Clinton Sr., died suddenly of a heart attack in 1990, shortly before Unforgiven entered production, a timing that infused the film's meditation on mortality with personal ache. 16 years later, his mother Ruth passed at 97, ending a pillar of pragmatic support who had attended every premiere. Professionally, the death of mentor Sergio Leone in 1989 severed a creative umbilical cord. Years later, Eastwood admitted he still heard Leone's growly Italian urging him to hold a shot one beat longer. On the intimate front, actress-director Sandra Lockett, his partner through much of the 1970s, succumbed to cancer in 2018. And in July 2024, his companion of a decade, Christina Sandera, died of a heart attack at just 61, leaving him heartbroken but thankful for the years we had. Eastwood's list of fallen comrades grows yearly. In February 2025, he issued a poignant statement after Unforgiven co-star Gene Hackman was found dead at 95. Praising an actor who never struck a false note. The tribute echoed earlier eulogies for Don Siegel, Eli Wallach, and Ennio Morricone, underscoring how Eastwood's personal address book now resembles a memorial ledger. Each passing reminds him, he says, to work quicker and speak less, a creed visible in the stripped-down pacing of his recent films and the quiet humility of his off-camera demeanor. Today, on the far side of 95, Eastwood splits his days between the rolling greens of his Mission Ranch in Carmel and the Warner Brothers backlot, where pre-production quietly advances on an as-yet untitled original drama. He still drives himself to the editing bay, still taps out jazz progressions that may become the film's score, and still insists on testing camera lenses personally before dawn. Sons and daughters, he has 8 acknowledged children, visit with grandchildren who chase the ranch's sheep, while Eastwood recounts stories only when asked, preferring instead to listen. Industry expectations of retirement hold no sway. In a recent interview, he rejected Hollywood's remake culture and vowed to keep doing something new or staying home, then added with a grin that he has no intention of staying home. On the domestic stage, Eastwood's life has unfolded like a sprawling ensemble drama filled with surprise cameos and intertwined plotlines. He wed Maggie Johnson in 1953, fathered Kimber with Roxanne Tunis during Rawhide, then welcomed Kyle and Allison before the marriage unraveled. Later relationships brought Scott and Catherine with flight attendant Jaceline Reeves, Francesca with actress Frances Fisher, and Morgan with television anchor Dina Ruiz, whom he married in 1996 and divorced in 2014. Alongside these acknowledged children stand Lori and Kimber, whose existence surfaced years after birth, reshaping the family tree. Rather than dodge notoriety, Eastwood quietly folded each revelation into an expanding clan, gathering offspring at Mission Ranch holidays, where tales of auditions mingle with sheep bleats and sea spray. Despite tabloid storms, his approach remains steady. Provide, listen, avoid public quarrels, and let the cameras find stories elsewhere. The result is a modern-day tribe that spans film sets, jazz stages, and philanthropic boards. A living testament to the resilience he learned while roaming depression. Highways with his parents, Eastwood's off-screen narrative also threads through politics, governance, and headline-grabbing controversies. In 1986, he ran for mayor of Carmel by the Sea after a planning dispute over an ice cream parlor sign. He won in a landslide, swiftly streamlining permits, extending library hours, and banning sidewalk sandwich signs to preserve coastal charm, though he served only one 2-year term. The experience sharpened his conviction that bureaucracy stifles creativity, a theme echoing through his films. Later, he endorsed candidates from both parties, insisting issues beat ideology. The 2012 Republican convention saw him deliver an improvised dialogue with an empty chair symbolizing the presidency, an act blasted as absurd by some, hailed as brash performance art by others. and forever etched into American political theater. Eastwood shrugged at the viral fallout, explaining that humor belongs everywhere, even if the audience gasps before it laughs. Across decades, he has remained a paradox. Fiercely individual, yet profoundly civic-minded. Skeptical of authority, yet drawn to public service when stakes feel personal. Today, Eastwood's legacy expands beyond celluloid into conservation, education, and music. He protected 2,000 acres of Camel Valley wilderness from development, financed scholarships for underprivileged filmmakers, and produced jazz festivals that pair seasoned legends with emerging talents. At 95, he still scores scenes on a walnut-rimmed Steinway, guiding editors with metronomic taps while sipping unsweetened tea. Pre-production meetings for his upcoming legal thriller unfold under oak trees at Mission Ranch, where cast lists share table space with sheep feed invoices. He reviews scripts at sunrise, walks the coastal trail at noon, and watches rough cuts after dusk, claiming that rhythm matters more than stamina. You pace the day like a scene, build tension, release, fade out. Industry lore says he ends shoots by thanking each crew member personally, a gesture echoing his father's Depression-era manners. Whether camera, golf club, or conductor's baton, every tool in Eastwood's hand serves the same purpose: to keep moving, keep discovering, and keep the audience leaning forward. Eastwood's professional myth cannot be separated from Malpaso Productions, the company he founded in 1967 to secure creative control and fiscal transparency. Named after a turbulent creek near Camel, Malpaso became a paragon of lean film. Compact crews, short schedules, low overhead, and ownership stakes that allowed riskier subjects. Where studios balked at a revisionist Western condemning violence, Malpaso financed Unforgiven. When biographical dramas about jazz legends or wartime translators seemed commercially dubious, Malpaso underwrote burden letters from Uema. The company's ledger tells a story of consistent profitability. Rare in Hollywood because Eastwood wagered his salary against back-end returns, trusting instinct over market surveys. In doing so, he forged a template later imitated by Orr, from Spike Lee to Catherine Bigelow. Prioritize autonomy, keep budgets. Realistic and protect Final Cut like One Guard's family. Executives who once dismissed him as a B movie cowboy now cite Malpaso in business schools as evidence that artistry and prudence can coexist. Awards followed this independence like shadows. At high noon, after decades of box office clout, his mantle finally held Oscar Gold in 1993 when Unforgiven captured Best Picture and Director. He accepted with characteristic brevity, crediting cast, crew, and the ghost of Sergio Leone. Another double win arrived, with $1 Million Baby in 2005, proving lightning can strike twice across genres. Between those peaks, the Academy saluted his URA with the Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award, while Cannes, Venice, and Berlin fed him with lifetime achievement honors. Yet accolades never altered his work ethic. On the morning after each triumph, he returned to dailies as though nothing had happened, telling reporters that trophies gather dust, but celluloid, now digital files, endure. He famously stored statuettes in a Como tool shed until his children insisted they deserved cleaner quarters, a gesture that summed up Eastwood priorities. Respect the craft, not the ceremony. Controversies punctuated the applause. The protracted legal battle with Sandra Locke over palimony and alleged sabotage of her directing career exposed a less stoic side, airing accusations of manipulation and blacklisting. In the Larsen II era, questions resurfaced about power imbalances, yet neither criminal charges nor career-crippling boycotts materialized. Eastwood responded by declining public mudslinging and continuing to hire female department heads, arguing that film sets should be meritocracies. Political critics labeled him a reactionary for American Sniper, while others lauded the film's raw portrayal of veterans' trauma. When Richard Jewell, 2019, dramatized the media frenzy around the falsely accused hero, journalists decried its liberties. Eastwood countered that his duty was to emotional truth. These storms ultimately proved peripheral to audiences who judged each film on its own terms, sustaining an aggregate worldwide gross surpassing $4 billion, an achievement matched by few directors half his age. Business ventures outside cinema further illustrate his restless pragmatism. He restored the dilapidated Mission Ranch into a hotel restaurant where sheep graze near beachfront cottages, launched the Tehama Golf Club in Carmel Valley, a member-friendly enclave woven into Forest Hills, and partnered in the Pebble Beach Company. Acquisition, preserving coastal heritage against speculative development. Unlike celebrity vanity projects, these enterprises share a through line of conservation and community, reinvesting profits into local schools, marine research, and film education grants. Eastwood's friends say he studies spreadsheets with the same intensity he directs actors, proving that stewardship requires vigilance beyond the set. Even his beloved Gran Torino, now parked in a climate-controlled barn, is scheduled for loan to automotive museums. The fees earmarked for veterans' rehabilitation programs. Creative appetite persists. After Cry Macho 2021 explored redemption through a weathered horse trainer, he directed Juror 2 2024, a courtroom thriller examining conscience under social media scrutiny. Rumors swirled that his next script tackles climate migration, weaving intimate drama into vast environmental stakes, a thematic bridge between his depression childhood and humanity's uncertain future. Shooting is slated for spring 2026, with portable LED volume stages to replicate deserts and coastlines, demonstrating that even at 95, he adopts cutting-edge technology when it serves narrative efficiency. Cinematographers half his age marvel at his brisk shot list still drafted in pencil on yellow legal pads. Proof that innovation and tradition can ride the same horse east of Eden. While critics often anchor Eastwood's reputation to his stoic screen presence, insiders know his greatest legacy may be his directing philosophy, an almost aesthetic devotion to economy. He arrives before dawn, blocking scenes with a pocket Leica and floor tape arrows before the crew unloads tripods. Rehearsals double as takes. Actors discover the camera is already rolling, capturing first spark spontaneity. Lighting setups favor practical sources. Lamps, storefront neon, the late-day sun, so the shoot moves like a jazz combo instead of a marching band. Eastwood trusts his collaborators to self-correct. He seldom shouts cut, preferring a gentle, "That'll do." Then he saunters behind the monitor, taps a knuckle on the DP's shoulder, and asks if coverage feels honest. Editors receive minimal footage, but maximum intention. Each shot framed to flow naturally into the next. This parsimony is neither haste nor stinginess. It's a creed forged by depression's scarcity. Avoid waste, honor momentum, and never indulge vanity when story is king. That creed extends to his musical sensibilities. A lifelong jazz devote who once jammed with legends at Monterey, Eastwood approaches scoring as dialogue rather than decoration. He composes at night on a battered Steinway upright, recording simple motifs into a handheld device, then hands the snippets to orchestrators who weave them into full arrangements. Themes emerge as quiet interrogations, a minor key piano ripple under a sniper scope, a brushed cymbal heartbeat during a boxer's lonely dawn run. Even when he hires guest composers, he insists melodies breathe, avoiding the bombast that clutters many contemporary blockbusters. Musicians testify that spotting sessions feel like late-night chats in a corner club. Clint humming a phrase, drumming his fingers, quoting Dave Brubeck riffs until everyone locks into a groove. The result? Scores that haunt rather than hammer, earning Grammy nominations and infiltrating classrooms where film students dissect how restraint can amplify emotion. Mentorship may be his quietest influence. Directors from Greta Gerwig to Ryan Coogler recount surprise phone calls after their breakthrough features. Eastwood offering congratulations and a standing invitation to visit his set. When they arrive, he walks them through Malpasso's minimalist logistics, urging them to trust intuition over spreadsheets. He loaned camera packages to first-time filmmakers who couldn't secure studio rentals and funded finishing grants for documentaries on veterans' mental health. Inside Warner Brothers lore, a note circulates that any crew member who solves a production snag receives an unsigned thank you card in cursive only Clint and the archivist recognize. These small gestures have rippled across generations, cultivating a lineage of directors who chase authenticity, manage budgets, and treat crews like family. Hollywood's collective memory will one day file Eastwood among Ford and Kurosawa, not merely for the films he made, but for the filmmakers he empowered. Cinematically, Eastwood's catalog is an atlas of American psyche, mapping frontier myth, urban fracture, and moral ambiguity across 6 decades. Consider the breadth. Play Misty for Me, 1971. Unearthed the stalker thriller before psychiatry had words for it. The Outlaw, Josie Wales, 1976. Reframed Civil War fallout through a fugitive's reluctant humanity. Bronco Billy, 1980. Spun a circus western that quietly championed found family resilience. Pale Rider, 1985. Resurrected the ghost preacher archetype with spectral grace. In the Line of Fire, 1993. Used an aging Secret Service agent to dissect presidential vulnerability. Space Cowboys 2000 launched septuagenarian astronauts in a meditation on deferred dreams. Mystic River 2003 carved Greek tragedy into Boston asphalt. Letters from Uema 2006 reversed wars lens onto Japanese soldiers humanizing the enemy. The Changeling 2008 confronted institutional misogyny through a mother's crusade. And Sully 2016 distilled heroism into 208 seconds over the Hudson. Across genres, the through-in is existential audit. How does a battered soul face an uncaring system and still choose action over despair? The answer, Eastwood suggests, lies not in bravado, but in quiet resolve. A Creole audiences absorb subconsciously, leaving theaters marginally braver than when they entered. Off-camera, daily rituals maintain the man behind the myth. He rises at 5 a.m., boils a single egg, and pairs it with fruit, yogurt, and black coffee. No sugar, no pastry. A 40-minute walk along the Carmel shoreline follows where Pacific surf provides metronome for story beats. Still assembling in his mind, he keeps a leather-bound notebook in his jacket, jotting fragments, dialogue, camera angles, chord changes before they evaporate. Mid-morning sees him in the ranch gym, alternating light weights with Pilates stretches that stave off the lower back stiffness inherited from decades of horse saddles and car rig shots. Afternoons belong to pre-production zooms or script table reads on the ranch porch, where ocean breeze flutters pages like lazy metronomes. He eats dinner early, grilled fish, steamed vegetables, a single glass of Pinot, then retreats to his studio, lays fingers on ivory, and coaxes melody until midnight. Friends note he seldom speaks during these sessions. Music carries thoughts words cannot. Before sleep, he rereads passages of Hemingway or Steinbeck, authors whose strip prose matches his cinematic austerity, reminding him that economy breeds power. Looking forward, Eastwood's horizon remains intriguingly open. He is shepherding a documentary series on renewable energy pioneers, aiming to demystify solar and tidal technologies for mainstream viewers. He's mentoring his youngest daughter, Morgan, on her directorial debut, a coming-of-age film set against California wildfire season. and he's negotiating with Carmel Council to expand coastal conservation easements, hoping to shield dunes from rising tides. Tentative plans place principal photography for his climate migration drama in Morocco and New Zealand, leveraging virtual production walls to blend locations seamlessly. When asked about centenary milestones, he smiles. If you keep a busy tomorrow in mind, the numbers take care of themselves. He acknowledges the inevitability of a final fade-out, but refuses to choreograph it. Instead, he plots scenes, mentors rookies, plants new cypress saplings along the bluff. In this relentless forward motion lies the essence of Clint Eastwood, Depression child turned global storyteller who forged an ethos where discipline and imagination coexist, and where legacy is not a statue in bronze, but a trail of finished stories, lighting the path for others. Go ahead. Make my day. 4 decades after sudden impact. Those 6 words remain shorter than for defiant confidence. Quoted by presidents, parodied in sitcoms, and printed on coffee mugs from Johannesburg to Jakarta. Eastwood's dialogue has seeped into cultural DNA the way Shakespearean phrases did for earlier centuries. Even people who have never watched Dirty Harry recognize the grin that accompanies the line. Toymakers sculpt collectible figurines in his squinting likeness. Fashion brands screen print his poncho silhouette onto streetwear. And video games borrow his quick-draw stance to telegraph cool under pressure. Academic articles trace hip-hop lyrics that echo his catchphrases, while political cartoonists sketch him beside empty chairs whenever authority feels absent. Across social media, GIF loops of his silent cigarillo flick serve as reaction shorter than for unimpressed, amassing millions of shares. In effect, Eastwood has become a modern hieroglyph. One lean gesture conveys volumes about toughness, skepticism, and moral certainty without a syllable spoken. Such omnipresence underscores a rare feat, transcending generational divides, not through marketing, but through the primal power of archetype. Film schools on 5 continents now teach the Eastwood method, a syllabus dissecting how economy amplifies emotion. Classes screen Unforgiven alongside Kurosawa's Yojimbo to illustrate cross-cultural dialogue on honor. Essays compare the ethical frameworks of Gran Torino and Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. Workshops replicate Malpasso's 2-camera setups to examine how coverage can be both sparse and sufficient. Students in Mumbai storyboard Letters from Uema to study empathetic enemy portrayal, while Parisian cinephiles host midnight marathons pairing Eastwood's jazz-infused Bird with True Shoot the Piano Player. Festivals curate retrospectives titled Silent Speaks, spotlighting his reliance on pause and gaze rather than exposition. Scholars note that Eastwood inverted the traditional Western. Instead of a frontier that civilizes men, his heroes civilize themselves by confronting inner wilderness. This thematic elasticity explains his global resonance regardless of language. The quest for dignity under pressure is universal. Consequently, your legends from Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu to Chloe Zhao credit him with proving that restraint can be radical, inspiring them to trust quiet moments amid blockbuster noise. Asked to distill his worldview during a 2025 masterclass, Eastwood offered a sentence he's repeated since his forwarder days. If something scares you, you probably ought to try it. That maxim propels his late live ventures into virtual production, climate storytelling, and mentorship programs for incarcerated youths learning screenwriting. He warns apprentices against chasing trend algorithms, advising them to find the heartbeat. Shoot it honest, then walk away before the applause. In interviews, he remains skeptical of nostalgia, calling it the enemy of discovery. Yet he keeps mementos, a pebble from Point Reyes crash site, the battered army dog tags, a bent rawhide spur on a shelf near his piano as tactile reminders of mortality. Digital culture fascinates him less than human patterns. He owns a smartphone, but dictates messages to an assistant, preferring eye contact to emojis. When pressed about legacy, he shrugs. Stories outlive storytellers. If mine help one person pick themselves up, that's enough. Thus, the boy who wandered depression highways, searching for solid ground, has become a compass for creators worldwide, pointing unerringly toward authenticity over artifice. From a vantage point few humans reach, Eastwood now surveys his legacy with the same unhurried gaze he once cast across Leon's sun-bleached vistas. When interviewers ask what keeps him awake at night, he cites unfinished projects rather than regrets. A chamber piece about an elderly jazz trumpeter confronting dementia, an animated short tracing the life of a camel sea otter threatened by plastic debris, and a memoir structured as a series of production diaries rather than linear chapters. He refuses ghostwriters, electing to draft each entry longhand at a Mission Ranch desk overlooking Monterey Bay, where foghorns pulse like slow metronomes. On weekends, he hosts small screenings in the ranch barn, projecting 60-night prints of classic noirs for local students who trade lawn mowing duty for admission. Afterward, he fields questions, rarely lecturing, mostly coaxing them to articulate why a particular shadow or line reading moved them. Mentorship, he says, is the last scene you reshoot until it's right, because the future is simply a sequel written by younger hands. Philanthropy has evolved into a second-act calling card. The Clint Eastwood Foundation funnels royalties into scholarships for military veterans pursuing film degrees, coastal conservation initiatives along California's Highway 1 and mobile dental clinics, serving migrant farm workers in the Salinas Valley. He once drove through as a poverty-struck teen. Rather than plaster his name across buildings, he stipulates anonymous endowments, believing titles burden creativity with gratitude. Insiders whispered that he personally covered the medical bills of a long-time grip battling leukemia and financed a short film by a formerly incarcerated screenwriter whose script impressed him during a prison outreach workshop. He deflects praise, claiming these acts are simply crew helping crew. When a reporter suggested such large S contradicts his famously conservative reputation, Eastwood smiled. Labels waste time. A man's job is to leave the campsite cleaner than he found it. Whatever. You call that fine. Technically, Eastwood marshes with the times. Virtual production domes fascinate him, but he urges young directors not to confuse novelty with narrative. If the wall doesn't serve story, tear it down. He adores drones for aerial establishing shots, yet insists on operating a 35-lane true Panavision for close-ups, celebrating the tactile clack of film threading as an actor's heartbeat quickens. Editors recount receiving dailies at lightning speed, Eastwood scribbling notes like trim 4 frames. Breath feels long, proving his eye remains sharper than any algorithmic shot predictor. He uses AI only to previsualize stunt sequences too risky for septuagenarian doubles, but bans deep fake face swaps, arguing that authenticity must never become optional in an era when studios chase CGI spectacle. He reminds them that audiences crave humanity. They'll write any fantasy if they believe the eyes, he says, tapping his own weatherline brow as evidence. Culturally, his influence transcends cinema. Leadership seminars dissect Eastwoodian decisiveness. Therapists reference Harry Callahan dialogues. When teaching boundary setting, motivational speakers quote unforgivens we all have it coming to underscore accountability. Yet Eastwood remains wary of idolatry, frequently citing a depression aphorism. An ego is just a balloon looking for a pin. He attends a few galas, preferring sunset walks with his dog, a rescue mutt named Leon, who trots beside him as gulls wheel overhead. Neighbors spot him at dawn buying newspapers from the corner stand. He refuses online subscriptions to feel paper in his hand and tip the vendor. Later, he'll skim headlines, circle errors with red pencil, and mail gentle corrections to editors. Some respond with thanks, others with amused disbelief that Dirty Harry still wields a metaphorical 44 against TYPOS. Approaching his centennial, Eastwood plots no swan song but a steady crescendo of smaller, riskier works, a testament to the mantra that started his journey: keep moving. He likens aging to directing under a setting sun. You chase the light, you improvise, but you never stop rolling until the scene finds its truth. Whatever final frame history assigns him, it will likely reveal a man leaning into action, perhaps adjusting a lens, striking a piano chord, or guiding a nervous young actor through first-day jitters, eyes fixed not on applause behind him, but on storyboards unfurling beyond the horizon. And when the inevitable fade to black arrives, those who followed his films, learned from his sets, or benefited from his quiet generosity will carry forth the simplest Eastwood direction of all. That'll do. Now tell yourself. In the end, Clint Eastwood's journey resembles one of his own widescreen shots, a single rider shrinking against an endless sky. Every hoofbeat echoing the hard-won choices that carried him this far. Born amid Depression's scarcity, tempered by wartime duty, and crowned by artistic daring, he distilled 90-plus years of risk, rigor, and restless curiosity into a body of work that doubles as a national diary. From the dusty silence of Lyon's frontier to the crowded courtroom of Giroux, each frame he shaped argued that character is forged where comfort surrenders to courage. He gave voice to the marginalized, confronted institutions grown complacent, and insisted that the smallest human gesture, a tremor in a jazz note, a glance across a bar, a handshake at rap can thunder louder than explosions. In an era of disposable spectacle, Eastwood proved that discipline and heart are not mutually exclusive. They are in fact the twin rails on which lasting stories travel. Standing now on the threshold of a 100 red years, he refuses both nostalgia and final bows. Tomorrow's call sheet still sits beside his coffee mug, its margins peppered with pencil cords, camera angles, and conservation meeting times. The boy, who once switched schools to follow his parents' hunt for work, has outpaced time itself, reinventing with each sunrise, actor to director, cowboy to conservationist, mayor to mentor. Should the spotlight fade tonight, his influence will keep rolling. Through Petits, he phoned after first films, through scholarships bearing no name, through countless viewers who straightened their backs after hearing a gravel voice challenge to make their day. Clint Eastwood leaves us a template, not a monument. Stay lean, stay curious, trust your instincts, honor your team, and ride toward the next horizon before the dust of applause can settle. That enduring motion is the truest measure of a life well told and the curtain that never quite closes.